Today I'm going to take this train over to the Russian border on a winter journey through Estonia's far east. We'll be checking out the train's first class carriage as we battle through blizzards on this ex-Soviet railway, just a few meters away from the Russian border. Along the way we'll pass amazing sights and interesting places, even catching a brief glimpse at a massive Russian locomotive. So join me for the ride over to Narva.
Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I'm in Estonia and I'm at Tallinn's Baltic station, where I'll be travelling with Elron on board one of their Stadler FLIRTs out to Narva in the east of the country. Let's go.
Welcome to Balti Jaam station, here in the capital city of Tallinn, Estonia. This name translates as Baltic station, as a reference to its close proximity to the Baltic Sea, the ferry terminal being under 2 kilometres away, easily within walking distance. Anyway, let's head to the platforms and have a look around. Balti Jaam is the main station here in Tallinn, and serves as the main hub of Estonia's rail network. The former suburban train waiting hall here now hosts a Burger King, which annoyingly didn't open until 11. A few convenience stores can be found around the station too. But if you're lucky, you'll even find a babushka selling her finest wares. Balti Jaam station is full of history, and the railway company is clearly proud of this fact. You can find information plaques and many fascinating photos taken over the 150 years since railways first arrived here in the city. These are in Estonian, Russian and English. The main station building here opened in the 1960s, during the Soviet era. In this, you can find a small waiting room with a staffed ticket office. There are also a few other shops, such as this flower shop and a decently sized supermarket, which is worth a visit as there's no food or drink sold on the trains here. Finally, you can find a conference hall and a hotel upstairs, as well as the presently closed international ticket office. All passenger trains in Estonia are operated by Elron, the national operator of the country, founded in 1998, finally taking over all routes in the country in 2014. The rail network here is built to a 15-20mm Russian gauge, as used by neighbouring Russia and Latvia, and generally compatible with the 15-24mm Finnish gauge. For this, a fleet of Stadler FLIRT units were ordered, entering service from 2013 to replace the Soviet-era Elektrichka units built in Riga, then in the Latvian SSR. Roughly half of these new trains are electric, for operation on local commuter routes around Tallinn. The remaining half have a diesel power pack, and are used on longer distance regional trains to major cities in Estonia. My train today will be number 20, the 11:05 express service to Narva, designated as such due to being the fastest train of the 4 daily services to Narva. We'll be departing from track 2, my train being formed of a 3-car diesel unit. I have to say though, these trains look great in Elron's orange livery. This particular unit is named Tallinn, after the Estonian city of Viljandi's former name during Swedish rule. Anyway, let's get on board. The first thing you'll notice here is the presence of level boarding, which is the case at all stations in Estonia. This makes the country the first in the world to have a step-free railway network. Impressive! As I showed earlier, these trains have a diesel power pack in the middle of the consist, however this can be walked through at any time. The majority of the train is second class, which is in a 2+3 seating layout. Thankfully, this is still reasonably spacious, thanks to the above average width of the carriage. First class is in a 2+2 seating layout, making it much more spacious. I selected seat 12 from the seating plan, which is a forward-facing window seat. Today's route will take us east from Tallinn, running non-stop on the main line to Tapa, before continuing east on the branch line right up to the Russian border at Narva. The journey is scheduled to take 2 hours and 20 minutes to cover the 209 kilometres, or about 130 miles. We depart from Tallinn on time at 11:05, briefly catching a glimpse of a Soviet Type L steam locomotive, of which over 4,000 examples were made. Progress out of the city is very slow. At the time of recording, there were engineering works on the line. This resulted in many trains being substituted by buses, and the few that did operate were subject to harsh speed restrictions. Eventually, we make a stop at Kitseküla, a district of Tallinn which literally translates as Goat Village. After this, we can finally speed up, as we leave behind the Estonian capital. We're currently running on the electrified railway to Aegviidu, which we share with commuter trains. A few minutes later, we make another brief stop at Ülemiste, which is a major transportation hub. This district features Tallinn's airport, with this station soon to be the northern terminus of the high-speed Rail Baltica project. Now we won't be stopping for 45 minutes, things begin to get interesting as we speed through Estonia's countryside at up to 120 kilometers an hour. But before we enjoy the wintry sights of this country, let's take a look at the interior. The seating is fairly comfortable, with a good amount of padding and ergonomic support. A leather headrest can be found at the top of the seat. Between each seat there's a large moving armrest. And on the seat in front you can find a folding seatback table. There's room for a drink too, using these bumps to hold it in place. Legroom here in first class is fantastic, and as you can see there's plenty of room to stretch out and relax, especially compared to second class. Seats in first class recline, with the lever being found beneath the seat, though this is fairly limited. Each seat gets a European style plug socket, located beneath the seat. Overall, this first class was pretty decent for this kind of journey, especially when you consider the price, which we'll get to soon. Meanwhile, the train continues to speed through smaller stations, served by only local trains such as this one. This is Rasiku, located about 30 kilometers away from Tallinn. Perhaps one of the smallest, Parila, serves the village of the same name, that had just 80 inhabitants at the last count. This section of railway sees a lot of freight, the west of the line having the city of Tallinn and its port, and eastbound traffic heading to both Russia and Latvia. You can even see these distinctly American locomotives, which were imported from the Union Pacific Railroad in the USA. In 2003, these were modified to run on Russian gauge, now hauling freight around Estonia. Things are beginning to look a little bit frosty outside, as we run past the pine and birch trees most common in Estonia. This is the town of Aegviidu, which is the end of the electrified line. Be sure to look out for the old station building, which is now converted to tourist accommodation. Just over an hour from departing Tallinn, we arrive at our first station outside of the capital. This is Tapa, which serves as a major junction on the network. As I mentioned earlier, Estonia was the first country in the world to have a fully step-free railway, but it hasn't always been this way. This photo from 2005 shows how low the platforms were compared to the high-floor trains. But let's take this opportunity to have a look around the rest of the train. Second class is very popular on these trains, and at some points it was nearly completely full. Here's another look at the diesel power pack, which is very typical of Stadler diesel trains. Here in carriage C, you can find some wheelchair spaces, of course situated next to the train's only toilet, which is wheelchair accessible. This features a modern vacuum toilet and was overall clean and in good condition. The soap dispenser and water were both working fine. There's also a hand dryer provided. The rest of the train is just regular second class seating. We're now approaching our next stop, Rakvere. As a lot of this line is single track, the service relies on passing points such as this one. The train opposite is the express service from Narva to Tallinn. After making a coordinated departure with the westbound train, things begin to get a bit colder. Firstly, this is just a bit of frost on the ground. But after 5 minutes, we're in the middle of a blizzard. Travelling by train while speeding through a blizzard is one of the most beautiful experiences the railways can offer. Though I suppose if you are stranded somewhere in the snow, your opinion may well differ. These man-made mountains lend their existence to an industrial history in the region, and the presence of this 80-metre tall mound of ash can only mean one thing. We're now coming into Pusi, somewhere that I'd definitely like to spend more time. This is just one of many stations on our route that the express train does not stop at, though I think you'll agree the town has a pretty cool name. So let's talk about some of the other features on this train. Whilst there are no luggage stacks on the train, the overhead luggage racks here are absolutely huge. You can also find a coat hook above your seat. The train has free Wi-Fi, with first class passengers getting a dedicated network. The password for this can be found on your e-ticket. Personally, I thought the internet speeds were pretty good for a train. Another feature that's only for first class is seat reservations, with one being included with every ticket. In second class, you simply take whatever is available. Our next stop though, and in fact the last one before Narva, is Jõhvi. As we run past some communist-style tower blocks, let's take a look at how much this first-class journey cost me. For this trip, I bought my ticket on the day of travel, which cost €14.96. For a first-class trip, whilst the interior is nothing particularly special, I think this is reasonable value for money, especially as this includes a seat reservation and massively improved comfort. I took my return journey in second class and found the seats to be fairly uncomfortable for this length of journey. The upgrade is normally around 30% more expensive, so definitely worth doing. So we're now just a few minutes away from Narva at the Russian border. The city, Estonia's third largest by population, is just across the river from the Russian town of Ivangorod. Until 2020, this border crossing would have seen the GO rail service from Tallinn through to Moscow and St. Petersburg. Nowadays though, the station serves as a terminus for passenger service, and from 2022, only very limited freight continues across the border. In fact, we even catch a glimpse of a Russian diesel locomotive sat outside the station of Narva, in the form of 2TE116U-0157. We arrive in Narva a minute early, at 13:24, as the post-World War II station building comes into view. Overall, I really enjoyed my ride with Elron. It might not be the most luxurious or fastest, but it certainly gets the job done, and for a good price too. As always, let me know what you thought of Elron in the comments, and to compare these with Stadler's other Russian gauge trains, click up here now to see my video on Georgian Railway's ultra luxurious business class.